World leaders are absolutely furious at Donald Trump and his despicable regime as a critical meeting that was supposed to take place between Europe and the United States was canceled when Marco Rubio was a no-show and he said he had better things to do. The purpose of this meeting was to talk about the mutual defense of Ukraine, and Rubio was too cowardly to even show up now. At the same time that meeting was canceled, you had European leaders like EU's foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas confronting United States Trump regime officials to their face. People like Mike Walls and others who were there from the Trump regime got called out and name-checked by European officials and leaders saying, if you think that Europe is going to help you when you go into these wars, if you're thinking about Iran and other things, you've got another thing coming. If you think you're just going to go it alone, good luck going it alone, but we ain't going to be here to help you. Watch as the EU's Kaja Kallas just rips Mike Walls to shred. Here, play this clip.
What is actually the difference? When, for example, Russia goes to war, they go alone because they don't have allies. When America goes to wars, then, a lot of us go with you and we lose our people on the way. So that means that you also need us in your, to be this superpower. Because if you look at the bigger picture, in terms of economic might, China is a very, very powerful country.
By the way, she continues and says, even in the jungle, animals cooperate, Trump. Even in the jungle, animals cooperate. You know what she's calling Trump and Rubio and Walls right here to their face nonetheless. Here, play this clip.
And one might say that it's true that those who have the power have had different rules. But even in jungle, animals cooperate. And so you are better off when you work with others.
Now, I think an important thing that went down at this Munich security conference was that a report was released right ahead of the conference that was set to take place, and they refer to Donald Trump. This is how the Munich Security Conference report of 2026 reads, saying Trump is the most prominent demolition man of basically the current decade, if not more, of course, and he's destroying the world order. Watch what they had to say. Here, play this clip.
The annual security report released ahead of the conference labeled President Trump as one of the most prominent demolition men when it comes to world order. Here's another quote from that report, which is more than 80 years after construction began, the U.S.-led post-1945 international order is now under destruction. The German chancellor just spoke in Munich and said this.
You've chosen a grim motto for this conference, under destruction. And it probably means that the international order based on rights and rules is currently being destroyed. But I'm afraid we have to put it in even harsher terms. This order, as flawed as it has been even in its heyday, no longer exists.
And then we heard from President Zelensky of Ukraine, and of course, supposed to be an important meeting that Rubio just missed and didn't show up, was a no-show. So here's Zelensky is out there saying, look, Donald Trump in America keeps saying, we want you to compromise. We want you to compromise, Ukraine. Zelensky's like, I've agreed to compromise over and over again. And I said, I'll do this. I said, I'll do that. Russia hasn't agreed to do anything. Russia hasn't even agreed to a basic ceasefire, and they've never agreed to anything. Watch what Zelensky says here. Play this clip.
This is crazy war of Russians against just people. And that's why it's not simple to stop, because we can't just stop because Russians don't want. And there are some signals from American side, from President Trump. They say, look, this is a time for compromises. You can make some steps forward. We made a lot of compromises. Putin and his friends, they are not in prison. This is the biggest compromise, what the world made already. And we stood from the very beginning and defending our sovereignty and our lives. And we just can't forget, I think that everybody understands. We can't forget that they killed so many people. But we are ready. And when President Trump said, let's just do ceasefire, just, frozen conflict. And they said, right? And I said, yes, it's difficult. A lot of questions to this idea, but President, okay, we will support ceasefire, unconditional one.
Putin refused.
Yes, of course.
Then Zelensky also points out, guess what? I'm younger than Putin, and his days are coming to an end soon. In other words, Putin's going to be dead soon, and I'm going to be here. I'm not afraid to shake people's hands. I'm not afraid to be around groups of people the way Putin is. Let's remember that. Play this clip.
I think Putin also in a difficult position because I can speak with you and shake hands, and I don't afraid, and I want to be free, and I want to change after politics, after everything. I want to.
And you're here.
Yes, I'm here. You see. Can you imagine? So I'm a free person. And I think that, and I'm younger than Putin, No, believe me, this is important. He doesn't have too much time, not too much time. Yes, God bless, not too much time.
And of course, the same way you had Kaja Kallas standing up to the Trump regime, you had Zelensky right there standing up to, Trump and others when Trump, right before the Munich Security Conference took place, Trump was like, Zelensky better get moving. Russia wants to make a deal. What's going on there? Russia does not want to. Russia's never made any move ever to indicate it wants to make a deal. All you and Putin have been trying to do is make a fake deal with each other over $12 trillion in fake economic cooperation when Russia's total GDP is $2 trillion a year. But here's what Trump said. Play this clip.
Ukraine negotiations, do you still demand Zelensky has to hold elections before summer?
Well, Zelensky's going to have to get moving. Russia wants to make a deal, and Zelensky's going to have to get moving. Otherwise, he's going to miss a great opportunity. He has to move.
If you're stressed about getting out of debt, it's go time. Seriously, this is one of those moments where timing actually matters. Done with Debt is one of the best I've seen at navigating debt relief. 2025 was a record year. They enrolled over $102 million in debt for our listeners and others. Here's why I'm telling you this now. According to the Federal Reserve's latest survey, many banks have tightened their standards. Right now may be your best window to negotiate settlements before lenders tighten further. Done with Debt tracks credit card and loan company behavior. They're experienced at knowing who is negotiating and when, and what it takes to get you the biggest reduction possible. And whether you're carrying $10,000 or $500,000 in debt, this may be the best chance you'll get all year. Do not wait for lenders to tighten up their policies. Here's what you do. Schedule a free consultation. There's no pressure, and it only takes a few minutes. Share who you owe, and they'll tell you if this is the moment you could see a major reduction in your debt. Imagine waking up without that weight on your shoulders and doing it without taking out another loan or filing for bankruptcy. Done with Debt helps you through the debt relief process so you keep more of your paycheck every month. Go to donewithdebt.com right now. That's donewithdebt.com.
And then in this Munich Security Conference, we saw lots of leaders standing up, whether it was French President Emmanuel Macron, whether it was Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz, whether it was Zelensky, whether it was Kallas, whether it was Stubb, and others. Here's what French President Macron had to say. Play this clip.
In order to be much more independent. But when I speak about Europe becoming a power, I don't speak about France or Germany becoming a power. I speak about Europe. So we have to think and act as Europeans, I would say by design. And this is what we have to do now. And if this time of rearmament is a time of dis-synergies, of separation, or national power, it would be a huge mistake.
More from Macron right here.
Europe has to learn to become a geopolitical power. It was not part of our DNA. We conceived ourselves as a political construction to provide peace. We delivered. Second, a single market to provide growth and prosperity. We delivered. Now we have to reform it in this new order. In this new geopolitical environment, Europe has to become a geopolitical power. It's ongoing, but we have to accelerate and clearly to deliver all the components of a geopolitical power.
One more clip from French President Emmanuel Macron. Let's play it.
But let's speak about our homework behind closed doors and let's deliver. But let's provide a positive image of ourselves and let's be proud of ourselves because this is what our fellow citizens need.
And here's what Germany Chancellor Merz has to say. And he said, look, our country, Germany, in the 20th century, we went down alone. We did it this way, basically the way the U.S. is doing it right now. And that was a dreadful mistake in the 20th century. Play this clip.
We Germans know a world in which might makes right would be a dark place. Our country has gone down this path in the 20th century until the bitter and dreadful end. Today, we embark on a different, a better path.
More from German's Chancellor Merz right here. Let's play it.
If there had been a unipolar moment after the fall of the Berlin Wall, a unipolar moment in history, it has long passed. The United States' claim to leadership has been challenged and possibly lost.
And here's what he had to say as well. Let's play this clip right here.
100 Millionen Einwohner. Die Welt hat 8 Milliarden, also 7,7 Milliarden Einwohner wohnen nicht in Amerika. Also wir können, glaube ich, auf dieser Welt ein großes Potenzial nutzen, ausschöpfen, das wir bis jetzt nicht genug genutzt haben.
What was interesting, too, as you had Friedrich Merz, the German chancellor, talking about decoupling from the United States, that Europe needs to just entirely become not dependent at all on the U.S., look elsewhere. The U.S. wants to be isolated, let him be isolated. But you had the U.S. NATO ambassador, Matt Whitaker, there at the Munich Security Conference, and he was asked by the moderator, what's your response to the German chancellor talking about decoupling? In other words, just getting rid of the United States totally because the U.S. is hostile, it's adversarial. And watch how sheepish Whitaker is. He's like, oh, you know, that's just what the think tanks are saying. And then the moderator's like, that's not the think tank. That's the leader of Germany saying that. And Whitaker's like, oh, that's not going to happen. It happened already. It's done because of you and Trump and your despicable regime of authoritarians. Here, let's play it.
I got distracted by the whole chancellor thing.
Do you worry that the Chancellor Merz has said that basically we're going to decouple? I mean, are we going to decouple from
we're not. No, we're not.
The U.S. and Europe?
No. And I think this is a kind of a think tank sort of theoretical. I push back on this every single day.
This is the German Chancellor that said this. It's not a think tank.
I didn't say he was perfect. I just said he's better.
And while the Munich Security Conference was taking place and Marco Rubio was too busy to even show up at the main Ukraine meeting, so the meeting was abruptly canceled, what was Donald Trump doing? He was speaking at Fort Bragg in North Carolina and talking about how he doesn't like stealth boats because they look ugly and he wants to bring back World War II battleships and commission those instead of stealth ships and instead of aircraft carriers. And while Donald Trump was taking his visit to and from North Carolina, he held a press conference where he talked about regime change in Iran. Let's play it.
Do you want regime change in Iran? Well, it seems like that would be the best thing that could happen. For 47 years, they've been talking and talking and talking. In the meantime, we've lost a lot of lives while they talk, and legs blown off, arms blown off, faces blown off. It's been going on for a long time. So let's see what happens. In the meantime, we have tremendous power has arrived, and additional power, as you know, another carrier is going out.
And a reporter said, though, I'm confused. You said, Donald, that you totally obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities last June. So if you totally obliterated it, why are you saying that you need them to stop the program? You said you obliterated it. Well, obliteration. And then you and the regime got mad and attacked anyone who didn't say or who said it wasn't obliterated. So I guess you were lying back then, right? Here's what Donald Trump said.
You said inside that the rated nuclear sites have been totally obliterated. What's left to go after?
Well, you could get whatever the dust is down there. That's really the least of the mission. If we do it, that would be the least of the mission. But we probably grab whatever's left. It has been obliterated, as you know.
More from French President Emmanuel Macron saying Europe now needs nuclear deterrence. Europe needs to build up its nuclear arsenal. You see what Donald Trump has done to the entire world order here? Play this clip.
We are conceiving, and in a few weeks' time, I will detail that. But we engaged a strategic dialogue, obviously with Chancellor Merz, but with few European leaders, in order to see how we can articulate our national doctrine, which is guaranteed and controlled by the Constitution, with special cooperation, common exercises, and common security interests with some key countries. This is exactly what we are doing for the first time in history with Germany. And I think this dialogue is important by itself, but it's important because this is a way to articulate nuclear deterrence in a holistic approach of defense and security. And this is a way to create convergence in our strategic approach and strategic culture between Germany and France.
And here's what Finnish President Stubb has to say. Let's play it.
Then we have to ask ourselves the question, for demographic reasons, for economic reasons, for geopolitical reasons, it's going to be the global South that decides the next world order.
And then finally, you have, in response to Kaja Kallas, the EU foreign policy chief, you had the U.S. envoy to the UN, Mike Walls. He says, we need to reform multilateralism. I think that that's what we should do. This is code when he says, we need to reform multilateralism. Do y'all remember the videos I made last January 2025? Not January 2026, January 2025, when Marco Rubio talked about reforming multilateralism to say the poles, multipolar world, needs to be the US, Russia, and China. 3 poles defining multilateralism who carve up the world, which I warned. I said, that means what the US is saying. Europe belongs to Russia. The Western Hemisphere belongs to the US, and all of Asia belongs to China. That's the Trump regime's view. Everything is through that prism. And here, Waltz is once again saying that. Let's play this clip.
So if you focus on the facts and the results, and if we have to reform multilateralism that hasn't been reformed, frankly, in 80 years, then I think that should be welcomed by the world.
So that's what's going on right now at the Munich Security Conference. Let me know what you think, of course. Hit subscribe. Help us get to 6 million subscribers. We're grateful for all of your support. And thank you so much for watching.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.